This was pure evil. It was straight up racially motivated hate crime.
The thoughts, the ideologies here, they are what you can hear virtually any given night of the week on a certain cable news channel.
This policy is called the Great Replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans with more obedient people from faraway countries.
On Saturday, an 18-year-old extremist opened fire at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, killing 10 people and injuring 3 others in what is now being considered and investigated as a hate crime and racially motivated violent extremism, as almost all of the people he killed and injured were black. Now, shortly before the shooting, the extremist released a manifesto online showing that he appears to have been radicalized by the same white supremacist garbage that Fox News host Tucker Carlson spouts on a regular basis. And I'm going to show you some of that in a minute here. First, some more details from the New York Times on the shooting. The authorities identified the gunman as 18-year-old Peyton S. Gendron of Conklin, a small town in New York's rural southern tier. Mr. Gendron drove more than 200 miles to mount his attack, which he also live-streamed, the police said, a chilling video feed that appeared designed to promote his sinister agenda. Shortly after Mr. Gendron was captured, a manifesto believed to have been posted online by the gunman emerged, riddled with racist, anti-immigrant views that claimed white Americans were at risk of being replaced by people of color. In the video that appeared to have been captured by the camera affixed to his helmet, an anti-black racial slur can be seen on the barrel of his weapon. All right, so this is very clear. The exact same trash that people like Tucker Carlson spout on a regular basis is littered throughout this manifesto. Evan Hill here tweets out, Gendron's manifesto cites the Great Replacement theory as his motivation, states that he became racist reading 4chan while bored during the lockdown in 2020, lists the Christchurch shooter as the source of his radicalization, and describes how he illegally modified his AR-15. Also goes on to say here, the manifesto explains that he chose his target because it was a zip code with the highest concentration of black people near him. Jews are another object of hatred, and he blames them for spreading critical race theory and urges others to try to kill George Soros. Any of this sound familiar? So this is from the manifesto, apparently. Quote, if there's one thing I want you to get from these writings, it's that white birth rates must change. Every day, the white population becomes fewer in number, the document says. To maintain a population, the people must achieve a birth rate that reaches replacement fertility levels. In the Western world, that is about 2.06 births per woman. All right. So, just a couple weeks ago, May 1st, Tucker here posted this online on Twitter, laughing at the fact that New York Times covered his American nationalism, including the Great Replacement theory that he spouts on a regular basis, laughing it up here. There's more than 400 episodes that contain the replacement rhetoric, so they're all listed here. In fact, New York Times, I'll link to their piece below. There's this interactive element to it, and you can actually listen to some of it here, so let me actually play this for you.
This is how radical demographic change happens. I don't want to live in a country that looks nothing like the country I grew up in. They can embrace the issues the middle class cares about, or they can import an entirely new electorate from the third world and change the demographics of the U.S. so completely they'll never lose again. Democrats know if they import enough new voters, they'll be able to run the country forever. Dramatic demographic change means many Americans don't recognize where they grew up. As with illegal immigration, the long-term agenda of refugee resettlement is to bring in future Democratic voters. Illegal immigrants are the key to their power. The point is to import as many new Democratic voters as possible. The whole point of their immigration policy is to ensure political control, replace the population. This policy is called the Great Replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans with more obedient people from faraway countries.
All right. I'm going to play here several clips from Tucker's show shared by John Kerr, Brian Tyler Cohen, and ACYN. So I'm going to play these and comment.
Of course, you're not working to import as many new citizens as we can into the United States to replace all the disobedient ones who didn't vote for us. In other words, you're being replaced, and there's nothing you can do about it. So shut up! The great replacement theory, it's a lie, they yelled. George Soros has nothing to do with that. Stop talking. They said we were espousing something called the great replacement theory, a well-known racist fantasy. The great replacement. They acknowledge that it's real and they love it. This policy is called the great replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans with more obedient people from faraway countries. The great replacement plan is working. The left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually. Let's just say it, that's true. Where exactly is all this criminal white supremacy, this right-wing domestic terrorism that poses, quote, the most lethal terrorist threat in the homeland? Where is it? Well, of course, it doesn't exist.
Yeah. How did that hold up? Doesn't exist. You see there him spouting this on a regular basis. The exact same trash in this shooter, this extremist manifesto. Yet the highest rated cable news show is Tucker Carlson. And some other recent high profile shootings similar to this one, as New York Times lays out. The attack at a Tops Friendly Market in a largely black neighborhood in East Buffalo conjured grim comparisons to a series of other massacres motivated by racism, including the killing of 9 black parishioners at a church in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015, an anti-Semitic rampage in a Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018 that left 11 people dead, and an attack at a Walmart in El Paso in 2019, where the man charged had expressed hatred of Latinos. More than 20 people died there. Now, this has been called out again and again by places, people like the Anti-Defamation League. So this is actually back a year ago, April 2021, calling for him to be fired over the replacement theory remarks. Intercept as well have discussed this, and of course the Murdochs, and they're the ones behind a lot of these right-wing networks and papers, including Fox News. So they write here, Fox News is poisoning America. Rupert Murdoch and his heirs should be shunned. So that's from 2018. And I also want to show you, so this was, they were covering up the shooting on Fox News, and apparently then went to this story about a secret flight carrying 150 plus migrants entering New York City. I want to end on this. So this is Laura Ingraham raising alarm about how it just takes one person to go off the rails in relation to the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade. So she's talking about how pro-choice people are, they may go crazy and start hurting people. Well, this applies directly to what just happened in Buffalo.
Things can escalate really quickly when people are lied to about how they're coming next for your birth control. Please. All it takes is one person to go off the rails.
All it takes is one person to go off the rails. And who accounts for the majority, the vast majority of these people going off the rails? Domestic terrorism incidents have soared to new heights in the U.S., driven chiefly by white supremacist, anti-Muslim, and anti-government extremists on the far right, according to a Washington Post analysis of data compiled by the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The surge reflects a growing threat from homegrown terrorism not seen in a quarter century, with right-wing extremist attacks and plots greatly eclipsing those from the far left and causing more deaths, the analysis shows. Since 2015, right-wing extremists have been involved in 267 plots or attacks and 91 fatalities, the data shows. At the same time, attacks and plots ascribed to far-left views accounted for 66 incidents, leading to 19 deaths. So the vast majority of extremism coming from the right and clearly being inspired by the garbage spouted on places like Fox News.